today's version of Writing Every Day from Teams Ministry. Actually, we're going to talk about today's ride a little bit, yesterday's ride, and hopefully maybe sort of some of the stuff we're hoping to accomplish for me, y'all, others out there, hopefully. Today's Monday, July 8th. And obviously I'm on the indoor trainer today with the IndieVelo software package, which I'm a fan of. Just doing a little casual warm-up at the moment. We'll see how it works on the audio for y'all, if this format works at all, or if conversation and discussion just always has to be recorded separately. We'll see how it goes. But today's ride will be indoors. A couple of reasons. A, Hurricane Beryl is on the way this direction, so there's sporadic bands of rain showers passing through. I really wanted to ride outdoors today, but I got caught out in a soaker last week unexpectedly. I don't mind getting wet, that part doesn't bother me, but just riding out on the roads and traffic in the pouring rain is not my ideal situation. You know, if we've got this tool, if we have the indoor trainer and a pretty cool software package, we're going to put it to use. And today's really kind of sort of ought to be a recovery. Oh, this is interesting. Here's a pack. What's going on here? Today's kind of sort of a recovery day for me. Trying to get back in the swing of things. We'll talk about it some. The short story is, for a while now, I have not been able to ride as much as I really want to, and I've tried. Unfortunately, my knees don't let me ride as much as I want to. I'm not going to dig into that right now, but if I ride too hard, ride too often, ride too far, ride too much, I guess is the simple way to put it, I can do it, but then my knees can put me down for days or weeks afterwards, which I'm trying to find a way to get as much saddle time as I want and not let that happen. Obviously, the lesser saddle time over the years has greatly contributed to tremendously more body mass that I'm wanting to use when optimally riding my bike long distances multiple days. So we got to work on that. Working on the riding everyday approach has worked in the past where I get caught up in it. So I just when I do this, it's like I just want more. I'm addicted to riding the bike. There's no doubt about it. Enough about me. This isn't supposed to be about me. It's maybe a touchstone for me to keep track of what I'm doing and keep things in perspective. But I've been preaching this message for years: is the best way to stay in shape is just to ride every day you possibly can. And it doesn't have to be a massive effort by any stretch of the imagination, but as long as you're getting in ideally 9 to 12 hours a week, but 7 to 10 will pull it off. If you're consistently riding that much week in and week out, you're going to be trained up to pretty much do anything you want to, distance wise, multi-days, things like that. I mean, obviously when specific events are coming up, you need to work on aspects of your physical needs for particular events, for multi-days. there's a lot more to being able to pull off multi-day riding besides just having the fitness to ride 100 miles a day for 5 days in a row. There's a difference between the fitness aspect of it and the body conditioning and the mental conditioning aspect of it as well. In addition to being fit enough to ride 500 miles in 4 or 5 days. And that's, some folks are going to scoff at that, go, well, that's a piece of cake, that's easy. Yeah, if you haven't done it, if you haven't done the 3 days, 4 days, 5 days in a row thing, that in and of itself is a learning experience. There's a lot more to it than just pedaling your bike. You have to have your butt conditioned for those multi-days. You have to have your bike dialed in. You have to have your fit dialed in. You have to have your nutrition dialed in. It's one thing to ride 100 miles in a day and not have an optimal hydration and nutrition plan, and then you're off for the next day or 2 or 3 or even a week, because you can make up the difference really easily. Oh, I came up short on calories, or I underhydrated, or I did the wrong calories. Well, you still finish your 100 miles and then you're off the bike, your body recovers, your cravings tell you what foods you need, and you address your shortcomings, a lot of the times even unconsciously. But if you're doing 100 miles a day, multiple days in a row, your body doesn't give you that slack to make up the shortcomings. You have to address it on the bike during the day, sort of thing, and do it correctly. Pretty much, anybody can get through a couple days. You might pay the price if you're doing it wrong. And it's third day, that's definitely the kicker. So it's a lot of roundabout talk as to one of the real reasons I'm a big proponent of riding every day is just to get your body used to it. Even if it's not 100-mile days every day, if you're riding the bike every day, an hour and a half, have a long day, 3 to 6 hours, once a week maybe. If there's bike fit issues, if there's nutrition issues, if it's just not the right saddle for you, you start to find those things out. But if you're only getting on the bike a couple times a week with a couple 3 days in between rides, you're not going to recognize when you have issues until you go to that multi-day event and get too far into it to correct anything on the fly. So that's one of the reasons I'm a huge proponent of riding every day. But the second reason is just getting that habit established, getting that addiction dialed in. I think we're all addictive personalities to one thing or another. And I think a lot of people that are addicted to endurance cycling and cycling in general definitely have a lot of common experiences, a lot of common ground. So, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm projecting too much of myself on you. Apologies if that's the case. Establishing new habits is not one of the easiest things in the world, because generally that means breaking old habits to get there. And generally speaking, I think riding your bike as much as possible is not the worst habit to have. I know I have fun with it. So along those lines, yeah, this is riding every day, and today I'm riding indoors on a smart bike, on a trainer. But yesterday, I had a good old time. We did a club spinistry ride out of Celina, Texas. I'll include some footage in here. So where am I at? Yeah, see, I'm making a point to ride super casual right now. And after 20 or 30 minutes, we'll see how we feel if we want to ramp it. I know I'm going to put in at least an hour. I'd like to do 90 minutes. I've got the time available today to do that, so. But it is easy to get bored on the indoor train. Had about 50 people sign up for it. Had a really good crowd. Showed up at Old Celina Park, Founders Park, something like that in Celina. We had 30, 45, and 65 mile options. It was pretty warm yesterday. So I think the vast majority of people went for the shorter routes, 30 and 45, but I definitely saw tire tracks out there on the 65 miler. So somebody rode it. If you did ride that, please let me know your thoughts on the routes and things like that. These were routes that were set up specifically for convenience. By that I mean, I made them as close to Dallas-Fort Worth proper as I could to still get a good amount of gravel in, but also to minimize traffic interaction on the paved segments and things like that. But I mean, I wouldn't consider it an event-worthy route or routes, but it was a fun ride. Had a blast. The roads themselves, this is where gravel gets a little polarized. Obviously, in gravel riding, you have folks that come from the mountain bike side of things primarily, and folks that come from the road side of things primarily. I definitely come from the mountain bike side of things. So when roads are in rough shape, I dig it. I enjoy it. I like it like that. But I also get it where people that don't have the mountain bike experience, it may be a less than ideal situation for them. But that said, I typically don't shy away from rougher roads. In this case, I didn't put them in specifically because they were rougher roads. I put them in because the route worked. I knew they were unpaved. And when I verified the routes last week, and I saw how rough they were, I opted to keep the roughest roads in because that's a really good training environment for those road-oriented gravel riders that don't have the single track experience. It's like you gotta do saddle time in those conditions. You gotta know how to ride in that stuff. Because I mean, if you pay a few $100s to sign up for an event halfway across the country, you're going to go to it, and if they throw some wild card sections in there, you need to know how to ride them. I get it if you're just riding stuff out of your backyard and it's a low cost event and that was not my cup of tea, I'm going to pass on it. Okay, that's fine. We're not making people do what they don't want to do. But in turn, don't shy away from that stuff if you are looking to do, particularly if you're looking to do multi-day stuff, super long distance stuff. Because, I mean, realistically, the more mileage you throw into a ride or an event, the more opportunities / occasions you're going to have to include less than ideal conditions. It might just be it's a super long ride, so weather's always a factor. Hurricane barrel blows through right in the middle of it. You gotta deal with stuff. But you want to sign up for events in Utah or Colorado or Idaho or whatever else, New Mexico, you need to know how to ride in different stuff. The Celina routes I thought were pretty fun. Definitely expect to go back to them on a pretty regular basis because they are so convenient. Well, convenient for people. I mean, it's still over an hour for me to get there myself. The reality is there's more remote, more Kevin style stuff, easier to get to from my house But it's fun to ride with people. There's no doubt about that. And it's fun to show up with 40-something other folks and go out on the road together and experience things. So it's always, it's always a balance. I can ride by myself anytime. Me getting the opportunity to ride with others, I'll be honest with you, that's actually kind of a rarity, because I know other event promoters do it. No idea how they get away with it, to be honest with you. And this is not a judgy statement by any stretch of the imagination. More power to them. There's no way. I think I've tried it once, maybe twice. There's no way for me to ride in my own events. So that's part of why we try to do these clubs ministry rides once or twice a month. It's completely selfish reasons. It gives me the opportunity to ride with others in a group. And I mean, yeah, this turns into a close ministry members benefit, because now we have a pretty good network of verified routes right there out of Celina. And we've done other stuff out of Celina, and this is, an ongoing, okay, well, that route was nice, but maybe it had a little bit too much out and back. How can we make it more loopish? So this was an evolution of routes we started doing a year ago. And I really like this version. And hopefully other people did too. So like I said, if you were there and you have comments, positive or negative, I can handle it. I'm a big boy, aren't I? I definitely appreciate folks' feedback. I recorded some overview stuff for the bike I was on too. I'll include some of it, at least, just to give an example of what I'm talking about. So right now, my main tool, my main weapon, my primary weapon of choice is the Salsa Tributary drop bar mountain bike e-bike. And that's specifically because of my knees. It does help me to keep myself in check and not overstrain my knees. Definitely the long-term goal is to be able to do rides like yesterday on my analog non-e-powered bike. That, quite frankly, that was kind of my wake-up call. A little over a year ago, that was my dream bike, and I started riding it and like it a lot, but realized the saddle time itself was tearing up my knees. Tearing up the knees isn't the knees are torn up. It's the forced recovery when I overdo it. Gotta figure it out, I guess, is the short way to put it. It's real. I'm an old-fashioned single-speed masher type. I've tried. I cannot become a high RPM spinner, and to be honest with you, even when I do try that seems to be as problematic for my knees as mashing does. I think the mashing, for lack of a better term, I think the hangover from that is longer. But when I try to spin up, the negatives when I try to do a spinny ride, I start feeling pain during the ride, and it's more intense immediately afterwards. Whereas when I do the mashing type stuff, I feel pretty good during the ride and right after the ride, but then I'll wake up the next morning and my knees are like, nope, you're done. You're not getting up for a while. So it's both approaches have different issues. So the e-bike I believe is going to give me the opportunity to find that right balance between the two. And hopefully it lets me lose weight along the way, which I think is a huge factor. If I can get rid of, you know, let's go on the conservative side. If I can drop 25 pounds of this excess weight, that's going to make a huge difference when I'm actually putting power to the pedals on a non-e-bike sort of thing. So it's an evolutionary process, and we're fine with that. So here's like just a quick view. The whole parking lot's pretty much us. Just a quickie Clubs Ministry social ride. There's a couple people back in, but towards the front of the pack myself, because hey, I'm cheating on an e-bike over there. I love this bike. This was like the perfect tool for today, being a big old fat, out of shape, broken down knee guy like myself. Just do a quick overview of the layout. So it's a Salsa Tributary Class 3 e-bike, and like, for example, what it let me do today, that was pretty cool. I was able to hang back at the start of the ride, make sure everybody got started okay and everybody was fine, good to go. But it also allowed me to quickly sprint up in front of the fastest folks and give them a heads up on their first kind of real sketchy turn. So really cool bike. I really love this thing. And I say that as have not been a traditional fan of the concept of e-bikes. But I am being swayed very quickly. Now that said, it's different. It's not the same as riding a bike. It's riding an e-bike. It's a different experience. It's a different adventure, but it's still fun, but fun in a different way. Can't explain it. Make no mistake, my intent is to be non-e-bike again, but the way my body's broken down, I'm gonna need some help to get there. I can't just, unfortunately, get on a bike. Essentially what's happening is my knees, to get the workout I need, I have to put too much pressure on my knees riding a regular bike. It's that simple. So yes, I can do it, but then after a few weeks of training, my knees are worn out. I'm out of commission for months afterwards. So hopefully I can build up strength, build up structure besides the ligaments and meniscus and tendons and everything, get some muscle buildup around it, and hopefully lose some weight. And that, obviously that'll help too, because it's the resistance of the pedals trying to go up hills and into headwinds and stuff like that. And an e-bike definitely makes that much more doable. But there are things I'm not ideally pleased with on this bike. Make no mistake about it. It's not perfect, but if I were to design an e-bike just for my specific needs, this would be pretty close to it. Not a stock saddle. Man, can somebody tell me what brand this is? I know this was a 1-year thing that didn't last. I've got 2 of these saddles. I love them. I need to see if I can find some new old stock anywhere, because I want more of these. Running flat pedals. Again, that's a byproduct of my knees. And we've got the red shift automatic lights. It determines if the pedal's facing forward or the light's facing forward or backwards and changes the color appropriately. I really love those. So here's the biggest shortcoming. This big old down tube where you put the big honking battery, it messes up the space for everything from a traditional bike. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Running the Varia, you've probably heard it beep in there. That man, that's a huge peace of mind there. But like, I can't fit a frame bag in here. I can't even fit a half bag in here. And then here's my biggest headache. So this is kind of in the way, but so much clutter up here gets in the way of everything. So there's my Wahoo. That's really basically the only place I can mount that. Here's the bike computer. You need this. It's that short of a story. But then you've got this on the top tube. So you need this button because that's what changes your e-bike mode.
see if you see it going up there. So you need this controller here. You can put it in different spots, but I don't know. But it just clutters up everything here. And I've got this Silka burrito bag. It's kind of a placeholder. I've got some ideas for long-term solutions, but this is what we're doing right now. Obviously, you can't put 3 bottles in there. So we're doing the fork mounts at the moment. It works okay. It's not my ideal solution, but it's a work in progress. Make no mistake, I am not complaining about the bike. This is all stuff I'm going to have to figure out over time, and everybody's needs are different, and that's what, you know, this suits my needs, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The suspension fork, surprisingly, I was not expecting to get as much out of that as I am, and it's making a huge difference. Here's what I'm not getting any use out of is the dropper post, but that's a me thing. Hey, if you need a dropper post, more power to you. I have yet to find a need for it in the type of riding that I do, maybe somewhere down the road. Here's the one thing about the dropper post that drives me absolutely batty though, and I know this is with all dropper posts. See that? Just that saddles aren't supposed to do that. It's just one. I know it doesn't really affect anything, but oh, one of those things. Okay, and here's another thing. Yeah, I know the bike's filthy, but damn, we've been getting some use out of it. See that? What do you notice there? Yeah, the chain's not doing anything. So when you want to lube the chain, you gotta turn the bike upside down. And also, if you're a fan of high engagement hubs, there's slop in here. Again, it's an e-bike, I get it. It's a different experience than a regular bike, but between that dropper post and the slop in there, just my rigid single speed grab and go, but everything runs perfect frame of mind, it drives me batty. It's not a negative on the bike. That's a Kevin thing there, because you don't need unlimited engagement with an e-bike. I get that, but it's just one of those things. Oh, it drives me batty. And then this, oh well. That said, Salsa did an amazing job for a first generation, one of a kind bike. It's amazing. I have yet to do a ride over 40 miles. Not that I don't want to. We're building up to it. I need to get my conditioning up. Supposedly on the lower settings, the bike's supposedly good for 60 or 70 miles. I'm pushing it's pushing a lot of weight when I'm on board. I think 50 is very doable. I think 60 may be doable. 70 I don't think there's a chance in hell of that happening. And that's another thing. It is a heavy bike. It's a 50-pound bike. Basically, you can pedal this bike with no assist of any kind. But trying to ride this like it's not, you've got to have at least that eco mode, that minimal assist for this bike to work. As heavy as it is, as heavy as I am, as much as everything, like I said, it just doesn't ride like a bike. It does ride like an e-bike, but boy, you can bomb stuff. You will charge up hills. And if you hate headwinds, this is a game changer. Make no mistake about it. I mean, I know the people finishing up this ride that are on the 45 and 65 mile routes are going to be complaining about it, because we've got barrel starting to come in from the Gulf in the south, and they're finishing with a very strong headwind.
I love riding my bike. I want to ride my bike, so I'm going to find a way to ride my bike. And darn it, if finding a way to ride every day is the right way to find where my body's shortcomings need to make up the difference one way or another, I'm willing to make that sacrifice. I'm going to ride my damn bike every day I can. And for those of you not familiar with my philosophy on that, it's focused on zone 2 riding, and we're not quite hitting zone 2 right now because I'm wanting to be able to have a decent conversation, not make too much background noise. We'll probably cut it short here in a minute. It's about time to get this warm up over and get the ride in. I'm not gonna crank it up. Probably gonna crank it up to about 130 beats per minute on the heart rate. Try to do another hour or so of that. But the riding everyday philosophy is do what you can to ride some every single day. Don't schedule off days. Life is going to make off days happen. Now, if you have one of those stretches of 2 or 3 weeks where life doesn't deal any off days to you and you are getting tired, still make a point to hop on the bike. But if you just have to do a super light recovery day, just spinning the pedals almost, under 100 beats per minute, not pushing any watts, do that for 45 minutes just to turn the muscles and stuff like that. That's really a recovery day in and of itself right there. The main thing about riding every day is making yourself get in the habit of, I'll ride an extra 30 minutes tomorrow. I just not feeling it today, or making the excuse, I'm just a little too busy today. I can't. Throw on your shoes, hop on the bike, and just spin around the neighborhood for 30, 45, or 60 minutes if you need to. Hey, if you got an indoor trainer or smart trainer and a Zwift or whatever, IndieVelo, I'm a huge fan of IndieVelo. We'll talk about that more in a future episode. Yeah, it would have been really easy for me to go, my knees are a little sore today. It's a good day for a rest day. I'm gonna ride my bike, and I'm already 30 minutes ahead of that if I hadn't decided to do that. So definitely looking forward to, hopefully Barrel doesn't drop a whole lot of rain on us today and overnight. Hopefully I can squeeze in a real world ride tomorrow and have some more interesting footage. Will I put these up every day? No idea. Will I do a digest once a week and compile stuff? I don't know. So like I've got today's footage, indoor training, got a little bit of footage from Celina's ride yesterday. We'll definitely include that. And my out of the house ride I did on Saturday. I might throw a little bit of the footage from all those in today and maybe use some of that to say, oh, hey, yeah, here's something to talk about in a future episode. And hey, if you've made it this deep into this, thank you, I guess. Congratulations. I don't know. Definitely leave some comments. What sort of stuff would you like to hear about in this journey of mine, or how you might be up against something similar, or have some questions about how to put things together for yourself? Because realistically, that's a huge focus of what we've always done at Spinistry. It's sure, we do events. We do the Texas Chainring Massacre. We do the Midnight Massacre. We do Red River Riot. Privateer Invitational. But we've always kind of positioned, what's the best way to put it? Hey, we try to do that affordably for everybody. And we've never, the Rat 1000 is a perfect example. We've never pulled any punches on. We're happy to be your training platform. Use us to help you get to where you want to be. If you have a bucket list event that's on your to-do list, we're happy to help you get there. So if you've got something that's on your wish list, on your bucket list, I highly encourage you. Don't just say, someday I'm going to do this. Someday I'm going to do Leadville. Someday I'm going to do Tour Divide. Whatever. Just say, hey, I am going to do this, and I need to be ready for it. Leave your comments. Tell me what you want to do. And we got some tips for you. Quite frankly, we've had people use Spinistry rides and events as platforms to do the Tour Divide, to do Leadville, to win Unbound Gravel. Yes, we have multiple Unbound winners that have utilized Spinistry to help them get there. Am I saying we're the only thing that got them there? Hell no, of course not. But I think any of those Unbound winners that have done our events will say that our rides or our clinics or whatever else, I think any of those will say that Spinistry helped them get there one way or another. Might have been a little bit of a help, and hopefully it was a lot of a help. Anyway, I'm going to focus on my workout. I'm going to try to get another hour in, get the heart rate up a touch more, turn the fans on, and do what you need to go ride your bike as well. Until the next time.